Okay, today we're going to look at another comparative essay question. So today we're going to really focus on the idea of hope, because we've given you a question that actually directs you to look at hope. It says, compare the extent, so how much is hope present in 1984 in Stasi-land? And you've got two quotes. There is no way in which the party can be overthrown, and no one ever thought it would all come to an end. So what we need to do is we need to unpack these two quotes, and we know up here that we've got to talk about how much hope is present. So here I have attempted to show you what's being asked. So I've written down here in this big box that each question wants us as the author to consider the nature of each regime. All right, so we need to look at similarities and differences, okay? So we really need to hone in on this idea of similarities and differences. All right, so 1984, our quote suggests that there is no hope present for those in the dystopian regime. There is no way. And the reason that maybe we can say that 1984 is so negative is because it's a warning. Orwell writes it as a warning. And of course, that we know this quote comes from O'Brien, who tells Winston this to try and make him accept that the party is more powerful than he is or could be. And he, I mean Winston. All right, and then we've got this quote from Stasi-land, which comes from Herr Bock, who's one of the Stasi men that Anna interviews. But we've got to remember the fact Stasi-land's retrospective, but at the time for the men who believed in it, it seemed eternal. But we know as readers that it was a flawed system, so we can see that this is ironic. So you've got to use these quotes in your essay. And we talked in my class today about whether you put quotes in your introduction. I still don't think that there should be quotes in your introduction. Personally, I think you should use these quotes in your body paragraphs, not in your introduction, but maybe have a chat to your class teacher about that, see if their opinion differs from mine. But for me and for my class, I would prefer that you didn't put quotes in your introduction. All right, so I've given you a bit of a plan for body paragraphs. I've said 1, you write about surveillance. 2, you write about flawed versus eternal. And by eternal, and no, I don't mean external, I mean eternal. Eternal means to go on forever. And body paragraph 3, personal relationships, all right? And I've written you 3 topic sentences. I don't like topic sentence number 3, so you might look at rewriting that specifically. Of course, if you feel confident rewriting all of them, then do so. These screencasts and these slides are a guide. Please feel free to change things, to alter things, to add examples. If you're not sure if it works or not, then talk to your class teacher, okay? But don't be afraid to use what I've got, and then maybe to write that essay, and then maybe to start changing things. So maybe you start by, writing out these body paragraphs and using these topic sentences in your first draft, that you whip up in, one night sort of thing. And then maybe you do that tonight, and tomorrow night you go back and you're like, okay, what have I written? Let's start editing. I can proofread and edit on my own. What can I change? And then maybe you do that a 3rd time. And maybe in that 3rd time, that's when you have different ideas as well. And of course, once you've proofread and edited your own work and you think, yeah, this is the best I personally can do, that's when you send it to your class teacher, okay? Try and send it through to them. And then you say to them, give me some feedback, okay? And especially if you've got ideas in there that you're not sure if they work or not, highlight that. Some of my students actually will say to me, I'm not sure about this idea or that idea. And that's totally okay, but we do want you to start branching out now that we're in week 3, okay? Now that we've done a few essays, you've got your ideas, and you should have your bank of body paragraphs from the holidays, and you should also have all your work from the passage analysis from last term. So you've got a lot to draw off. So I'm going to talk you through each paragraph briefly and the examples I've got, okay? I've put here a bit of a plan for your introduction, okay? I haven't finished it deliberately. I've given you a bit of an opening sentence, then reword the question, all right? And I have put the quotes in here for reword the question, okay? Because part of our question, of course, this time is, and my computer's a bit delayed, sorry, but it is the quotes, okay? Quotes are part of our question this time. So then we've said surveillance, flawed versus eternal, personal relationships, clearly answer and refer back to the question. While 1984 acts as a dystopian warning, 1984 is a warning of what the world would be if individuals were deprived of their freedom. Stasi-Land's retrospective nature allows readers to see there is some hope present. Because remember, if we go back here, we are talking about hope, okay? Hope is that idea that we do need to come back to. So, what examples could we use in each paragraph? So stop this for a second. Go and look at your banks of paragraphs. Go and look at your notes. Surveillance. This is, something we've talked about so many times. Control and surveillance. We've talked about this before. I know for my class, there is a sample paragraph out there somewhere on this, if not more than one, okay? Go and find that paragraph for a start. Go and get it, make it yours, change it, edit it. We haven't done a lot of talking about, or a lot of writing, about flawed versus eternal. All right, the fact that Stasi-Land shows the flaws, and 1984 seems to be eternal. But we've talked about this idea a lot. You'll see that when we get to those slides. And of course, personal relationships, love and connection is something that you should have talked about before. It's something that you should have written on. It's something that you should have notes on, okay? So paragraph 1 and paragraph 3, should not be hard for you, okay? Paragraph 2 is where you've got to do your real thinking. Paragraph 1, paragraph 3, you should already have notes on this, okay? We have given you a lot of resources. Go back, find it. Go back to the notes that you've been taking. If you've been doing the work, this shouldn't be asking a lot. It should really only be, and of course you will change your paragraphs for 1 and 3 to suit the question, to talk about hope. So, I've suggested here with surveillance to talk about the tally screen, to talk about the Stasi surveilling everyone. So easy. There's 2 examples, and I was saying to my class today, if you do nothing else, memorize, say, these 6 quotes, because it's really important now that we're in week 3 that you start to memorize these quotes, okay? It's getting to the stage where I am concerned, and so are the other teachers, that there's still a lot that some of you don't know. So it's time to start learning key ideas and key quotes off by heart, okay? Flawed versus eternal. So I've used the quote here, the party in 1984 seems to have complete control all records, and we control all memories. That's what O'Brien says. Retrospective, it was in such stark contrast to reality from Stasi-Land. Personal relationships, no one dares trust a wife or a child or a friend any longer. Stasi-Land, a maiden blowing smoke in a tower. You can find better quotes than I can. You can find different examples. It's okay to do so. You should do so. Alright? I'm looking at this now, and it's been a couple of weeks since I last looked at this, and I'm like, oh, I could find, definitely a different quote for flawed versus eternal. I'd use different quotes here. I don't mind this one here. It was in such stark contrast to reality. I like this one about personal relationships. I think we could find a better one about Miriam and Charlie. That's your job. Make it better. My job is to give you the basis. Your job is to go beyond, okay? The people who get A's will have this, and they will have more as well. So, body paragraph 1, which we know is surveillance. Here we go. The inner party and the GDR, alright? I'm labeling it straight away so we know. Both use surveillance to spy on their citizens. Furthermore, the power of their methods of surveillance and brainwashing is shown to be overwhelming, alright? There's no hope in stars in 1984, remember, but there is. But first we need to talk about the extent of the surveillance, alright? So, first of all, I'm going to use the quote that we had. There is no way in which the party can be overthrown. O'Brien tells Winston this, okay? The power can also be seen through Winston's failed rebellion. Remember, O'Brien tells him, I have watched over you for 7 years. For 7 years I've watched over you. And then you'll need some comparative language, alright? You'll need to do your comparison. Comparatively, at the end of 1984, Winston is a defeated man. I don't know why I've said comparatively. Sorry, I've skipped one here. So, I've gone too far. Sorry guys. So, for 7 years I've watched over you. Sorry, then you need your comparative language for Stasi-Land. The extent of the Stasi surveillance is revealed through Julia's relationship. We're talking about the Italian boyfriend, remember? Night all. Julia admits she didn't like it, but she lived in a dictatorship, and that's just how it was, alright? O'Brien also seems to know what Winston's always going to say. Power of the party in the former GDR is and was eternal, okay? Then we get to body paragraph 2. This is the one that's a little more tricky, alright? So, readers of Stasiland know from the outset the regime didn't last. However, in 1984, Orwell's choice to finish with Winston as a defeated man suggests that there is no hope for the future. So, here's the examples I've got here, and you might want to stick to these if you're not too confident. I know that some people were maybe not 100% confident on this today. So, first of all, the fact that Funda starts off by visiting the Runden Eck building, alright, totally tells us straight away that this didn't last. If what was the headquarters is now a museum, we know it didn't last. And I know that some of you are confused by Stasiland, so read it a second time, okay? Stasiland may not make sense the first time. Go back a second time and have a crack at it. And the third time even, it makes much more sense when you take the time. I did not like it the first time I read it. I didn't understand it. It will take you more than once, okay, to do well. Herr Buck, no one ever thought it would all come to an end. So that's our second quote. So tick, tick, we've used our quotes. Alright, then you'll need your comparative language. Comparatively, blah, 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 in comparison. Similarly, differently, whatever phrase you use. He loved Big Brother. Winston is defeated, okay? So, in Stasiland, there is hope because we know that it didn't last. In 1984, Winston is a defeated man. The party has won, alright? 2 + 2 = 5. Furthermore, the actions of dissidents in Stasiland are imbued with a sense of possibility, alright, such as Julia's belated realization the Stasi was afraid, okay? I don't like this final example now that I look at it. I feel like I could find something better. Furthermore, the actions of the Stasi are imbued with a sense of possibility. I wonder if you could talk about the fact that, you know, in the end, Julia is able to move on, or the fact that, you know, Frau Paul and Torsten seem to have moved on, or the fact that our final image of Miriam is her walking straight back to the sunlight, so it's positive and happy. Alright? Body paragraph 3, we're talking about the fact that we're going with personal relationships, so love, and whether the relationships are worth it. So, Winston, sooner or later they were bound to get you. And then Winston and the phrase from the dream, the place where there is no darkness, omnipotence, I can't talk tonight, all powerful, all knowing, that the party is almost like a god in this way. Julia and Winston betray each other in the face of pain. They are no heroes, alright? This confused some people today. The only hint otherwise is in, and I've mistyped there, sorry, is in the appendix, which is written in the past tense. So 1984 is present tense, the appendix is in past tense, as if the ideas that it refers to, and by it I mean the appendix, are no longer in place, and it's in old speak or English, implying that the political regime of the party is not in fact eternal. That's a complicated idea, okay? I will add to the end of this slideshow a bit more on that, okay? But if you don't get that, don't worry. It's just something that I've read that I wanted to put in and I wanted to alert you to, alright? Then you'd have to compare it to Stasiland, alright? They still have love in their lives, you know. At the end of the text, Miriam is described by Funda as being trapped. However, the very end is hope because of Charlie's poem, I am of this land. And then today when I was working with a student, also that imagery that we have of Miriam walking straight back into the sunlight, I think that's also really positive. And then we talked in class today about the park and the teenagers kissing all being really positive imagery at the end, you know, compared to the negative imagery of 1984. And that's really important that you can see the difference in the endings, because that's relevant for paragraph 2 and paragraph 3, okay? And then conclusion, answer the question. There's a striking contrast between the two texts. Oppression has ended, final victory, hope and rebellious actions, okay? So that's what I am suggesting for you. All right, so these slides, there's 10 of them. They're available to you. You should have a really good go at this. I will put up a link as well to a sample essay. You got to see a lot of this today in class. If you've got questions, talk to your teacher about it, but please make sure as well that you go through these slides, that you do the work yourself, that you watch this screencast, and then that you chat to your teacher, because we need to know that you've done the work first, okay? So do the work. 10 slides, print them out, make them into study cards, write out this essay, all right? It's week 3, you should have done an essay a week. This should be essay number 3, okay? Good luck. Email your teacher if you've got concerns.